camel skin is clean.
Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about something really important, not only for Pakistan but for the entire region. We will be talking about the Indian occupied Kashmir. As we all know that India's illegal move regarding the occupied Kashmir will destroy the regional peace now, just because what they've done is that they have in fact abolished Article 370 from the Constitution. And this has been done by the Indian government, and special status which was granted to the Kashmiris living in the Indian occupied Kashmir, that has been taken away from them. Now we'll also be talking about that what sort of a special status they had. In fact, none other than the Kashmiris could buy the property or otherwise. Plus now, since we have done so many programs on the demographic changes the Indians are making, this is a major part of that. Now they will try to settle in as many Hindus as possible just to change the demographics and to make sure that this indigenous movement of the Kashmiris should be sabotaged. The right of self-determination should be taken away from them by building more military setups out there, by in fact calling more fresh troops from the main India into the Kashmiri region. As far as the current status in Kashmir is concerned, curfew has been imposed in most parts. There is no internet connections available, so that there should be no flow of news coming from that part on the social media or otherwise. The phone lines have been disconnected of the Hurriyat leaders. They have been put under house arrest. And now this is something pretty alarming. The violations as far as the LOC is concerned, that's continuing by the Indian sides, unprovoked shelling from their sides, resultant in many killings, and a lot of civilians, they have also lost their lives. Now, the Core Commander Conference has been called. Other than that, when we talk about the Trump's mediation in this particular regard, it has been considered as null and void. Even the opposition has said that there is no point in holding talks with any other country. It's our own internal issue and we'll do whatever we want to. This is there. Now, this is not basically settled by bilateral means or trilateral means. This was a unilateral decision taken by the Indians, which they have imposed. Technically, this is in the United Nations, whereas United Nations is concerned, they have again mentioned that both the countries, Pakistan and India, since they are both nuclear powers, should exercise maximum constraint and should not indulge in any sort of a war. It is more or less like a martial law situation out there in Kashmir. Tomorrow, the joint parliamentary session has also been summoned after this particular step taken by the Indians. The Foreign Office has condemned, so is the case with the Foreign Minister. He has very categorically mentioned that this is going to lead to absolute bloodbath in Kashmir. This is also going to lead into a civil war-like situation out there. And as I earlier mentioned, that the Kashmiri leadership, whether you talk about Mehbooba Mufti or the other leaders, they have all been under house arrest. Now, India intends to prevent Pakistan from the support to Kashmiris. This was also stated by the president of Azad Kashmir. Now, lockdown on internet and social media has also resulted in a lot of chaos and problems. Now, we're not getting many fresh news from there because it seems that a lot is going on out there. Universities are closed, government offices are shut down, and the foreigners, they've been asked to vacate and immediately go out of Kashmir. Now, there are a couple of questions that weren't we aware of this particular step taken by the Indians. We had any idea because yesterday when they took certain very important measures according to them, this is what we were expecting. Now, what sort of a strategy do we have in order to sort of look into this affair? Though the Prime Minister has called Mahathir Mohamad in Malaysia, he's also called upon the Turkish President, Mr. Tayyip Erdogan, and they've given him full support. Now, let's see where it moves. To talk about this particular issue, let me introduce you to our panelists. We have with us on our right is Dr. Asma Shakir Khwaja Saab. Dr. Saiba is a foreign affairs expert. Thank you very much, ma'am. And we have with us Ambassador Arslan Saab, former senior diplomat. So thank you very much. And we also have with us Brigadier Retired Tipu Sultan, who's a senior analyst. Thank you very much, sir, for taking out your time as well. Now, ma'am, first of all, Article 370, since it's been abolished, revoked by the Indians, special status has been taken away. And a lot is happening. They have imposed curfew. Foreigners have been told to immediately leave IOK. Universities are closed and practically there is an absolute shutdown out there. Now, ma'am, where is India heading? And this step which they have taken, what is your take on that?
Definitely, India is heading towards the intensification of Kashmir conflict, and because of Modi's policy recently, these policies during last almost 6-7 years, Kashmir has become the nuclear flashpoint for the whole world. Because when you are pumping violence in a conflict, and we can see the level of militarization being injected in Kashmir, so it clearly shows that Modi still, the BJP governments, they are inclined to control or manage the Kashmir conflict through or by force. And this is what is being demonstrated in all their policies towards Kashmir, and they think that even this recent act has actually internationalized Kashmir issue, and we can see only in like 1 or 2 days there are plenty of statements by international organizations, though those statements need more explanation and interpretation. But still it is a failure for India that so many international organizations such as UNO, such as OIC, such as Amnesty International, and such as several others, they are highlighting, they are talking about Kashmir issue, and they are questioning the Indian action in Kashmir. And I still believe that the three-pronged strategy mentioned or advocated by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the former Prime Minister of India and a leader of BJP itself, he presented this idea that the solution of Kashmir only lies in three-pronged strategy, which should be based on Kashmiriyat, Jamhuriyat and Insaniyat. It means that Kashmiri identity, democracy and humanity are the only way forward for Kashmir resolution and to achieve sustainable peace in Kashmir. And this is really sad to see that how the this contemporary leadership of BJP doesn't believe in these three basics.
Kashmiris have not been asked.
Yeah,
there is no concept of democracy out there, ma'am.
Yes.
And as far as humanity is concerned, we all know the way they are killing these innocent Kashmiris.
Yes, because the treaty of accession, so-called, which we don't, Pakistan doesn't accept it, but that treaty of accession was signed between a Kashmiri Dogra Maharaja or Kashmiri leader and the Indian government. So how come even after 70 years or after 700 years, how come Indian government without the consent of the Kashmiri leadership can abrogate that treaty or that decision? Because it doesn't mean that how many, with the passage of time, bilateral treaties or agreements, they don't they're not diffused like this. So, and one thing we can see that Kashmiri leadership, either in Indian occupied Kashmir or in Azad Jammu and Kashmir, they are on one page. Doesn't matter which party they belong to, what is their ideological leaning, what was their past, but they are all they all have consent that Article 370 should remain there and should not be abrogated by the Indian Parliament, because it is like an occupying forces abrogating an article to maintain its occupation on a certain piece of land without the consent of the local people. And if Kashmir is that much integral part of India, why India is injecting more military in Kashmir, why India is intensifying the militarization in Kashmir to if people are very happy and people want this thing, then why all this fuss for last 1 week? India is preparing for this change in Kashmir. So definitely India has internationalized Kashmir. Modi has internationalized Kashmir, and Modi did not, the BJP did not care about Kashmiri people, their identity, their will, what they want. Even if Kashmiri leaders are BJP's allies and former allies, even they are criticizing this move. They are also under house arrest. Those who are famous for their pro-India stance in Kashmir, they are also under house arrest. It means that Kashmiris are unified. They have this stance that 370 should not be abrogated. The independent or semi-autonomous status of Kashmir should be intact. Although as a student of international relations and international security, I don't think so that this change would make or cause any practical difference on ground, because Kashmir is, if you see, there are rare phases in history, or very few phases in history, when Kashmir was ruled by Kashmiris. It was mostly, it is governor rule, mostly it is the black laws India is implementing on Kashmir to keep the occupation intact. So practically I don't see, but definitely it has a symbolic effect. It would have a symbolic effect on the will of Kashmiris, identity of Kashmiris, and it would further polarize and drift away Kashmir from India.
So the worst case scenario is where they are heading now.
Intensification of freedom struggles of
Absolutely.
Kashmiris now, they even, like I was reading the Mehbooba Mufti's statement. She said that our leaders did the mistake by annexing with India because it was a wrong decision.
Now she's saying that she was a part of the previous government in PDP.
Exactly.
I mean, the moment they are in opposition, they would speak. Whenever they are in the government,
yes,
they would support it.
So by attacking,
when she was the chief minister, the Indians.
So it means that BJP's government, by attacking, undermining, questioning the Kashmiri identity or Kashmiriyat, they are drifting away from Kashmir, because such clauses cannot bring peace.
These draconian laws is,
Exactly.
that is going to be another problem.
And this is the time for international community to intervene and prevent Kashmir as a nuclear flashpoint.
All right. Now, sir, in the past we have seen the Palestinian issue. Whatever decisions the Americans have taken, sir, they were all in favor of the Israelis and totally against the rights of the Palestinians. I mean, they are living a miserable life. That's why they call it hell on earth. Now, sir, another hell on earth has just recently been formed when the Indians, in fact, demolished this Article 370, taking away the special rights of the Kashmiris. Where are they heading, sir? And what sort of a future do you see now if this is not taken back? I'm talking about the decision, sir. Most likely the BJP are in absolute power, getting a lot of support from within, and decision has been taken. Now what, sir?
The latest move by Modi government is not something which was unexpected. This was part of their agenda manifesto in the first election. In the second election, he's come back with a greater majority in the parliament. And true to their stance on Kashmir, that it is terrorism, the bogey of terrorism, that is the situation there, not the freedom struggle. They have used the same camouflage now to induct more troops and to do away and revoke these 2 articles. They talked about telling the tourists and the others that they're expecting a terrorist attack, but it has been not a terrorist attack, but their own hideous way that they have done away with this thing, which is totally against is illegal. It is against the Indian constitution. The Supreme Court has said this
So
is
if it's
illegal.
illegal, for example, I mean, coming from a neutral point of view, then why hasn't any major P5 countries, for that matter, they have intervened or passed a statement for that matter, sir? A. And secondly, when you say that they have done something wrong, I mean, we are claiming that this is wrong. When you ask an Indian, they say this is our internal issue. Why even you talking about it? So there's a difference of opinion also, sir.
Yes, well, something has just happened, and you know, the fact is, as you mentioned earlier, we saw, as far as Israel was concerned, there were UN resolutions. There was illegal occupation of Golan Heights, but the Americans went ahead, and you have a hill named after Trump. So it is the superpowers don't give much importance to international law or legality. So that aspect is certainly there as far as the policy which has been adopted by the Indians. But the fact is that this does not change the status of Kashmir. It is, as rightly pointed out here, it has further highlighted the Kashmir issue. It is not only there, but within the country itself, or in India. Look at the reaction from the BJP and the Congress. They have said it has killed the democracy in India. Of course, one should not take it very seriously. This is perhaps just an internal matter, but also we saw the unity taking place within Kashmir. And we see that as a result of this, Pakistan has done what it does when situations like this arise. As a diplomat, we naturally will look towards negotiations, but they're not willing to negotiate. We have a similar agreement. We can invoke similar agreement, but they have killed similar agreement by taking a unilateral action.
Yes.
Of course, we can send special envoys. This is important that we should send special envoys, and not just some hand of people going. We must choose the countries that we are sending. We must choose the people that we are sending. And to my mind, one of the is Sardar Masood Khan, former ambassador and well known internationally as well. Mishal as a Kashmiri from there, and I think Ambassador Basit, he is just back from India recently and has been very active on our channels and so on, and other personalities from there. So special envoys going from there. We should not only just having written letters by the foreign ministers, we should also perhaps in the foreign office call either by the foreign minister or the foreign secretary, all the envoys here, call a special meeting of them and brief them on the situation. Not only what the Indians have done with regards to these 2 issues,
correct,
but the fascism that is taking place within there. And there have been leaders in the Congress who have been pointing out to the fascist policy of BJP. And most importantly, the violation of the International Convention on the use of the munitions that they have fired. The cluster bombs that they have been used from there is violated. It's one can go, it's a war crime. So I think apart from that, we should also seek a extraordinary summit of, we should look for maybe the Chinese asking for a meeting of the Security Council. We should have an extraordinary summit also of maybe the OIC, or the other countries. So, other countries have come in support. EC has come out in support. The UNO has come out in support. Human rights organizations have come out in support, and so on. So we need to also, have a special envoy being made. Not only just those visiting from here, but a contact man for Kashmir, exclusively a cell in the Foreign Office. So a time has come that we have to be very, very proactive as far as the Kashmir position is concerned. Internally, we have done and we are doing a lot. As we can see, we have the National Security Council has met. We have the Parliament meeting tomorrow. Our Speaker of the Senate, Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the our opposition leaders have sent messages to UN, to parliaments across the world and so on. Or the Army co-commanders are meeting tomorrow. So I think internally we have done a lot, and externally we also do.
And we'll keep on supporting them morally, diplomatically, politically. This is what we've been doing earlier as well.
All the things that diplomatically can be done.
But sir, do you believe, last quick point, then I'll move on to Brigadier sir. Do you think, sir, now we really need to gear up? Because that is the support we need to give. We really need to gear up to support the Kashmiris, and now we need to have a new sort of a kick and a lot of enthusiasm for that also, sir.
As rightly pointed out here, this has helped to unite the Kashmiris, parties there. I've read this, we've seen the statement of the leader of the opposition today. They are going to be tomorrow. Let's hope that they show unanimity from there.
I think, sir, on Kashmir, everybody has a very unanimous sort of an approach. They all believe in the right of self-determination of the local people of Kashmir, sir. And I think tomorrow, since the joint parliamentary session has been summoned, and I'm sure, because sir, if you look at the statement of Kashmir, of Shehbaz Sharif on Kashmir, sir, he has been very vocal as well, and he said that basically whatever has been done, that is not at all acceptable to Pakistan, sir. Now, Brigadier Saab, a couple of issues regarding the escalation point of view, sir. I'd really want you to also comment on the previous discussion. But looking at the current scenario, sir, the violations on LOC, number one. Secondly, sir, the kind of response of the UN has given on this. They have said that both the countries are nuclear powers and they need to exercise restraint. Your comment on that also, sir. And do you think this particular situation can actually lead to something which Pakistan doesn't want, sir?
Well, Faisal, I'm really surprised that the policy that we have adopted has not succeeded, and we don't seem to realize where are we heading to. I am not against the exterior maneuver at all. I am for it. You should intensify it. Whatever the flaws are there, you should rectify that. But the point is, what I want to know is, what are the actions that you need to take which will stop India from doing what they are doing in Kashmir and to the Muslims in India? I think if our policy is strategically that we do not want to escalate the conflict, and we are shy of fighting, and we are shy of taking casualties, and we are shy of taking certain actions, I'm afraid the fate accomplishes there. Indians have opened up and closed their option right from their troops. They landed in 1947 in Srinagar, defying UN resolution, not talking to you over the years, and doing whatever they want to do. The UNO has not taken your side explicitly in executing and making sure that the resolution is adopted in Kashmir. The international media, no matter what we did, their weight was behind the Indians, and we have had ill-timed Operation Gibraltar and Kargil. Our strategy has been flawed. Now, anybody who does not change the decision because of changed strategic environment should not expect to succeed at all. The Indian hooligans of RSS and BJP has travelled alongside the Indian army in IHK to take part in the genocide of Kashmiri people. Look what has happened over there, the unabated killing, and if we want to invoke the international community and expect that the Indians will not do what they are doing in Kashmir, I think we will be very naive. It's not going to happen. Throughout the Kashmir policy that we've had, if they interdicted Neelam Valley, the safety was to interdict the Ras Kargil. That was the balance, the operational balance that the Pakistan Army always exercised. Currently, Neelam Valley is interdicted. The Ras Kargil is not. And if you want to say that you do not want to escalate, I am not saying that you should collect the forces and run on to India in a conventional or nuclear war. But if they are entering Kashmir to kill our people, there are people. There are people, they're Muslims, they're from Kashmir. Its decision in territorial integrity and fate is still to be decided. And if Pakistanis want to go and fight there and to save them, what stops us from doing that? What stops us? There are only two things. There are only two things.
You just keep that point in your mind, sir, and I'll just come back to you because I just want a quick legal point of view on this also, sir.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Sir, we have been joined by Salman Akram Raja.
Okay.
Quick couple of points with him, and then I'll get back to you on the same point, sir. Raja Sahab, Assalamu alaikum.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum.
Sir, thank you very much for taking out your time and talking to us. Raza, first of all, obviously, this is a black day. Whatever the Indians have done, I mean, they have, in fact, revoked this Article 370 and taken away the special status of the Kashmiris. Number one, sir, number one is that Pakistan says that this case is in United Nations. Indians always say that this is a bilateral issue between the two countries, but this is a unilateral decision taken by them. What is the legal standing of this, sir, even within India, in their Supreme Court or in their high courts? Your take, sir.
Well, let's look at it as an internal Indian constitutional law matter first. Now, what they've done is, today on the 5th of August, a presidential order has been issued, which supersedes the 1954 application of Constitution to Jammu and Kashmir order. Now, the 1954 application of the Constitution to Jammu and Kashmir order had protected the laws made by the Jammu and Kashmir legislature, which gave special status or special privileges to the permanent residents of Kashmir. In particular, laws that allowed only permanent residents to hold immovable property, that allowed only permanent residents to acquire scholarships and aid from the government of Kashmir, that allowed only permanent residents to be employees of the state government. Those laws were protected by the 1954 order applying the Constitution of India to Kashmir. Now, what has happened today is that 1954 order has been superseded and the entire Constitution of India has been applied to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, what that means is that the special privileges that were made available to or that were reserved for the permanent residents of Kashmir can now be challenged as being discriminatory. So any citizen of India can now say that I, as a citizen of India, am entitled to buy and hold immovable property in Jammu and Kashmir. I am entitled to compete for government jobs in Jammu and Kashmir. So the special status and the privileges that were meant to be protected and preserved for the permanent residents can now no longer be preserved. That is what has happened today. Now, there are legal issues here.
Okay.
Could the president have issued this order given that the Constituent Assembly has ceased to have any effect in Kashmir since 1957? There is an argument that what was done in 1954 has attained some kind of permanence now and it could not have been overridden. But these, I submit, are arcane questions of internal Indian constitutional law. They will go before the Indian courts ultimately, and the Indian courts will decide things as they deem fit. We as a state, as the state of Pakistan, cannot really rely on what the Indian courts will do with respect to what the Indian government is doing. There is an atmosphere within India which is now, as we know, very pro-majoritarianism. The Hindu majority has asserted itself with a great deal of vehemence and if I may say, belligerence across the various institutions of India. So we really cannot put much hope in what the Indian institutions, including the Indian judiciary, will do in this matter. This matter now squarely is a matter of realpolitik. It is a matter of the bilateral diplomacy and strength of the two nations, India and Pakistan, and how we deal with it will not be strictly legal, but will have to cover a whole range of options that we may deploy.
Now, Raja Saab, another point. Now, what is the standing of UN on this, sir? That is my other question. Because what if we consult the UN regarding this issue, sir? Can they do something? Let's suppose if we have some sort of an international support, sir, or you believe that what has been done now?
See, the United Nations cannot intervene in the internal legislation of a particular country. Now, if there were a convention or a treaty under the auspices of the United Nations, then maybe one could have taken the matter to the International Court of Justice and said that there's a violation of treaty obligations, and India as a state should be directed to review its internal legislation to bring it in line with its treaty obligations. But here we do not really have a treaty that can be taken to the International Court of Justice. Here there are resolutions of the Security Council, and those resolutions are not really dealing with the internal arrangements within the state of Kashmir. That would be the argument that India would present. Those resolutions are simply saying that the status of Kashmir, the territory of Kashmir, will remain undecided. It will remain a disputed territory till such time that there is a plebiscite and the people of Kashmir decide their future. Now, technically speaking, the option or the possibility of that plebiscite has not been removed by what has happened today. A plebiscite can still take place. So there is a distinction between the international obligations and the internal arrangements that the state of India enacts. So we can still and we should still insist that no dilution of the Security Council resolutions has taken place. The resolutions remain effective. Then also there is some talk of invoking the Shimla Agreement. Now, if you look at the Shimla Accord, it does say that the status quo shall be maintained by both sides. Now, again, that is a question to be interpreted, and who would interpret what status quo was envisaged by the Shimla Accord. Is it regarding the line of control, the actual control over territory? Is that the status quo that was intended by the Shimla Accord? If so, then that does not debar either state from making arrangements for the internal governance of the territories under its control. For instance, with Gilgit-Baltistan, we make arrangements. We've made arrangements from time to time without that matter being taken to any international forum. So one argument would be that the internal rearrangement that India is now seeking, even though it revokes the special status, it makes the people of Kashmir dependent now, demographically also, on the larger Indian population. Any Indian can now move to the state of Jammu and Kashmir and change the demographic population balance in that state. So it's a very serious threat to
This is what they plan to do.
the identity of the people of that state.
Or Rasab, what about ICJ? For example, forget about the status of Kashmir or this article. Let's talk about the Kashmiris out there. And when we talk about the human rights violations, sir, that is at its peak. And I'm not sure what exactly is happening today out there, sir, because the military is there, curfew-like situation is there, schools are closed, universities are closed, foreigners have been told to leave. And then on top, we all know what must have been happening out there. Now, sir, ICJ, the role of the court, sir, can Pakistan as a party go to ICJ, sir?
Well, the short answer is no. You see,
Okay.
the jurisdiction that the International Court of Justice exercises is essentially of two kinds. Either it is a jurisdiction that arises out of a multilateral treaty or a convention, like the Convention on Consular Access, to which
All right.
two member states of the United Nations are party and have agreed to abide by. If there is a violation of that kind of a treaty or a convention, either state can go to the International Court of Justice. Now, our relationship with India is not regulated by that kind of a treaty or a convention. The second kind of jurisdiction that the International Court of Justice exercises is when parties, member states that are signatories to the statute of the International Court of Justice decide through mutual consent to take a dispute to the International Court of Justice. So both parties have to agree. Now, in this case, again, India is not going to agree to going to the International Court of Justice. So I don't see any real possibility of any matter related to what has happened today or the human rights situation in Kashmir being taken to the International Court of Justice.
All right, thank you very much, Raza. All right, thank you very much, sir. Now, this is what the legal standing is, sir.
That's exactly what I was saying, that, you can have the exterior maneuver and whatever law, that international law that you want to exercise, or invoke the UN or European Union, regional lies and all that. But you have to devise a strategy where you think it is going to make a difference in the current status of the situation. No, we have been presented with a fait accompli. The Indians have unfolded an operation which was expected, and if we were surprised, we were very naive. You know, the world has spent money in India. The European Union has spent money there. The Americans have. Chinese have trillions of dollars trade with the Indians. You have to threaten the investment of the international community in India. You have to tell them that it is not our choice, but we are being forced into a conflict which can escalate to limits that your interest in the region will be destroyed. If you keep sitting, India will get away with whatever they have done. I think if the people of Pakistan...
So if we keep sitting, I mean, what can we do?
That's what I am saying. There are two things that you can do. Number one, you have to support the Kashmiris in their revolution. There's no way, there's not two ways about it.
You are.
Anybody, we are not.
So we
But
always
the
claim that we
policy,
suppose and three words are used
wait a
politically.
minute. The policy that we have adopted has not forced the diplomatic, moral support and all that has not worked for you. It will never work for you. The Indians have put the freedom struggle of Kashmiris into a terrorism basket very effectively. When the environments change, there is a change of environment. When the Indians have revoked the Article 370 or 333 or whatever its number is,
370.
to allow the Indians to come and occupy property and change the demography of Kashmir and send down about 1 lakh additional forces over there. They have never agreed with you in 1947 when they landed their headquarters in Srinagar.
And they will never agree.
They will never do that.
Simple as
They will go their way. So would you then accept the genocide of Muslims in Kashmir?
Well, sir.
Well, if you want to accept that,
Let's see the choices which we have, the challenges which we have at the moment.
But let
sir.
me tell you,
we are putting our own house in order.
If the Indians are killing people over there, is it not our responsibility to look at options? How can we stop
Now,
that?
your Prime Minister is called the Turkish President. He's also called the Prime Minister of Malaysia. Two
That's
of the
very
non-Muslim
good.
leaders
When
in the world.
Imran Khan
But
talks,
sir, let's see what sort of a
you know,
response we get.
when Imran Khan talks, the world listens. You have to pose a credible caution on the Indians of whatever they are doing.
All right, all right.
And you have to open
Sir,
up.
Sir, I'll get back to you. Ma'am, another point. Now, that is, whatever Indians do, mostly Americans are aware of it. This is the general, consensus on which most of the people believe. Do you think the Americans were aware of this move, ma'am? Obviously, when we heard that this is what they are doing, so they were heading towards this. We all anticipated, and we all did so many. I did at least three programs during the last 10 days on this particular issue. Now, ma'am, looking at what has happened, demographics will change. People will pour into this area, and let's say tomorrow the Americans intervene and say, well, you know, we can have a referendum, let's say in 3 years' time, when the demographics are totally changed. This is what they have in their mind. What is the option? Forget about what the options Pakistan has. What is the option for Kashmiris now, ma'am? Your take.
First of all, demographic changes are not that convenient. Right now, with a change of a clause in a constitution, and after that assuming that the demographic changes would change the nature of conflict, it is very difficult, and we are, I think, thinking too loud. Number two, the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A was always part of the election memorandum of BJP. BJP was promising its voters to do that, and we were thinking that maybe there would be some rationality in practicality in BJP leadership, and they would not do this, because this abrogation for Kashmiris, what it has done, it does not nullifies the importance, significance, relevance of UN resolutions on Kashmir, but it definitely intensified the need to implement those resolutions on Kashmir, so that we can prevent a nuclear military escalation between the two nuclear hostile neighbors. As far as the question of USA is concerned, as it was always part of BJP's mandate. So definitely countries or states concerned to this region were aware of that probability. But definitely we didn't know that at what time that would take place. And if we see that why BJP chose this date of 5th August, I don't, as a student of international relations, for me it is, they have done it in a bit of rush. I don't know what objective
Do you think they have done
want to
it?
achieve.
They had in their mind, but they've done it after the statement issued by Donald Trump. Though the Prime Minister of India hasn't said much about it.
Yeah.
Neither
For
he has said
me-
Yeah, they have
yes
been
or
saying
no.
in the pre-election campaign,
the
they have been
opposition
saying that
or
they're going to do it.
Yeah,
They have
Yes.
always
For
been
me-
saying in their election campaign that they're going to do it.
This is
should
one of
not-
the part of the
we should not be
manifesto. Yes.
surprised on that.
Yes, yes,
So
ma'am.
for me, this latest action again intensified the need for mediation by Trump. It actually made the Trump statement about mediation on Kashmir issue most relevant to the regional security right now. This action by the Modi government. So I cannot see that it nullifies any of the stance, whether it is right to self-determination, whether it is the need for mediation by these international powers, whether it is Pakistan's support for the Kashmiri people. It only disturbs and it only worsens the relationship between Kashmiris and the Indian government or Indian state.
This is where we're
That's
heading.
it.
All right.
As the Raja Sahab also said, that it does not have any international implications which will damage the nature of Kashmir conflict in international law or in international organizations. So we need to understand. And for me, what Modi is doing, he is constructing a conducive environment for the resolution of Kashmir problem, because international community sooner or later has been
he
realized.
wants to suppress everything and eventually get the desired
And
result,
that
which he
too
has in
in
his mind. Yeah.
that too in a bad manner, I would say.
All right. Sir, another quick point. That is about the regional piece. So look at the timing of this decision. Do you think when Pakistan is involved totally in sorting out the Afghan issue, and we have extended our full support to the Americans also when the Prime Minister was there, do you think, sir, this could be one of the actually areas which can actually sabotage, not sabotage, but derail that or prolong that particular effort of Pakistan in sorting out the Afghan issue, sir?
Well, I think the timing should be seen in the background of the political leadership in Pakistan's policy on Kashmir for the last several years. It's been lackluster, to say the least. We have economic problems, we have political problems in the recent past. So internally, we had this situation in the country. Externally, we saw that a shift taking place with the visit of the Prime Minister to the United States and the offer by Trump for mediation on the Kashmir issue, especially with regard and in the hope that the Afghanistan problem will be, we will help in a peace deal coming into Afghanistan. Now, it is in India's interest to make sure that the relations between Pakistan and United States do not improve, number one. Number two, they don't want to see a peaceful situation in Afghanistan because it is in their interest to keep it boiling from there. So I think the timing was such that they did that. And secondly, look at the timing as far as the world is concerned, the Muslim world is concerned in particular. We are, Eid holidays are coming, Hajj, is around the corner. So I think it was well chosen time period for doing that. The fact is that maybe behind Modi's mind, he may want to use Trump's influence to try and get some kind of Kashmir solution to Indians' liking. As much as what they are offering, the Americans are offering in Palestine, the so-called special project. So I would say that we have to be very wary of that, the idea of any mediation from there. We have to see how it goes.
All right.
Now, coming back quickly to what the general here had to say, the point is that obviously if there are going to be further brutality in Kashmir, there's going to be repressions, and you will find across the border
That is the reason
line
they
of
brought in
control,
fresh troops.
further attacks and so forth. We are not going to be sitting idle. naturally, and you can expect a flow of refugees coming on our side as well. So Pakistan
Even Kashmiris would not
Kashmiris,
sit idle. So
yes, yes.
this Kashmir movement right now is an indigenous movement.
Exactly.
That's what I'm
supported
saying.
by
And especially
Kashmiris.
post Burhan Wani's
Yes,
martyrdom, things have changed.
exactly. Yes.
And I think whatever is
Yeah.
happening at the moment as we
Yes.
speak,
Yes.
things would definitely take a very different. So, quick closing remarks from you, Brigadier Sahab.
I think the environments have changed, and the previous policy has not worked. Pakistan has to sit down, huddle together, and we should not be shy of taking actions that will alter the course. That is very important. Anybody who understands strategy would also understand that you never reinforce a failure. And going to the international community, well, it is good, go there. If you have failed, you will fail again. What will change is that when you change yourself, are you shy of taking strategic decisions? Don't expect the Indians to behave in a manner that is humane, that will not make them kill the Muslims on the streets. No, they will. It is the Indian Hindu blackwash of India that is planned, and that the BJP is executing
right.
without any hurdle internationally or within the Indian continent. The subcontinent has changed. We have to realize that.
Well, sir,
and
let's
we have
see-
to
let's
change
see. I mean,
ourselves also.
things
And
would
if
be
we are shy of casualties, if we are shy of fighting, if we are shy of taking decisions, then
Well, let's see, sir, what the government
Well,
decides tomorrow.
it will happen,
There's a
whatever has
parliamentary
been
session,
happening over the last
co-commanders will
70
meet
years.
again, the Prime Minister is going to chair that. Let's see what sort of a decision they come up with, but I hope it should be in
I
favor
am
of
sure
Kashmiris.
Imran Khan, if I know Imran Khan, I am sure he will come up with a decision
Let's see.
which will make us proud.
We have to
Pakistan-
strengthen the country internally. That is
Internally.
and
And
both
Pakistan
politically,
is
economically.
coming up as a more democratic state than India, because we are allowing our institutions to take decision on that important sensitive
Well, let's see, ma'am.
matter.
Again,
Indian
as I
One
said-
democracy
person
is
is
only
not
now meant
deciding.
for Hindus. ji.
Yeah.
Indian democracy is it is only meant for
Exactly.
Hindus. That's
Exactly.
it.
Well, anyway, Brigadier Sahab, thank you very much. Ambassador, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much.
And that's all we have for this hour, but definitely we'll be doing another program on the same point, same issue, and let's see how the development takes place. Currently, the situation is pretty good in the Indian occupied Kashmir, but let's hope and pray for those people and for their safety. Anyway, I'll see you at 8 tomorrow. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.